They're barely, lucky if they're making money on purses, let alone be able to afford health insurance. And
So why don't
some
we
of
have
those.
one? Why don't boxers have
Because
an association?
boxing just isn't as organized, as some of the other sports, and it never has been. There's 4 different sanctioning bodies. It's not as organized, and it's unfortunate because I think, and a lot of people, I know a lot of people would agree with effort. Right.
Yes, with effort.
With effort, we could put an association together.
The fact that nobody is demanding this is wild to me.
Whoa, whoa. Ooh, yeah, yeah. Ooh, whoa, whoa. Yeah, 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 yeah. Tell me what you really, really want, baby. Let it be on.
Welcome back, fight fans, to another episode of Drew and Pris. I'm Andrew Bocanegra, your host, and I'm here with my co-host, Priscilla Arguello.
That's right. Another week, another show.
Yeah. Hey, how about this weekend on the MVP card?
Tremendous fight. That fight was insane. I watched the highlights. I didn't know which way it was going to go. It definitely surprised me.
Yeah, so Sebastian Juarez and Damarcus Layton on the MVP show was on DAZN.
Yeah.
First round, I was going to say, it didn't last very long. One round went really quick. They say that could be
fight of the year.
Fight of the year, definitely round of the year.
Round of the year for sure. Maybe possibly fight of the year if you consider one round a fight. But yes.
Yeah, so that hit 10 million views on YouTube, and it's been all over social media.
Rightfully so. Rightfully so. That was extremely entertaining.
Yeah.
That is what boxing is all about.
It really is. Yeah. So early on in the first round, Sebastian got dropped, and he lost his legs.
Dropped a few times.
Got dropped a few times. He lost his legs, and I mean,
the commentators were saying he doesn't even know where he's at right now.
Yes, Nonito Donaire was commentating. He was saying, "Hey, his legs are gone," and I thought that. I mean, everybody must have thought that. And then, he just came back and dropped him later in the round, and then dropped Layton again.
Shout out to the referee for allowing it to go that long as well, and giving him that opportunity to come back from that.
Yeah, no doubt. But that just shows, in boxing, I mean, anything can happen. And, a fighter is really most dangerous, when he's in those types of situations. Coming up in boxing, I just heard so many coaches and trainers just tell you that, you have to watch out. You just never know. And what do they say? Protect yourself at all times, and it seemed like Layton just felt a little comfortable
confident. Yeah.
Got caught, and that's boxing.
That was tremendous. Very, very, very entertaining.
Yeah. So if you haven't seen it, go ahead and check it out.
Look how excited
watch it on
we
YouTube. I totally get excited.
Look how excited we get. You love boxing, huh?
Yeah. I mean, it's my world, and then like a lot of us in the boxing industry, we just can't imagine ourselves doing anything else I love other sports, football, baseball here and there, but there's nothing like boxing, You have to ask yourself,
why do you love it? Yeah, why do you love it?
You have to ask yourself, like, what are we crazy?
What's wrong with us? I know I love boxing. I mean, I was introduced to it at a very, very young age. It's something that we grew up watching in those giant, huge brick TVs. So it's something that was naturally introduced to me. But I will say, I feel like I love boxing for a very different reason than majority of the people. I like the gore. I like the violence. This is why I also really like UFC.
Yeah, UFC.
Because it's gory, it's violent, it's everything that's the opposite of my life. It's very chaotic.
But
and I love it. For me, it's entertaining.
Yeah, but is it really violent? Is it, people all the time, they ask me, they're just like, oh, well, especially people that don't know boxing. Right. One of the very first reactions, like, oh, you're in boxing? Like, wow, it's, let your kids do that? Like,
that would be my first reaction.
What kind of a person likes such a brutal sport? And it's like, well, I don't see it that way. I don't see the gore. Like, I don't see what some people see.
It's
I see a sport.
dangerous.
Yeah, but I see it as a sport.
I see it as a sport too, but a sport that I don't want my child participating for that reason. I mean, there's so many injuries, just like there is in many other sports, football included. I still don't, there's so much controversy there. But that's a sport that I would never want my son to do for that reason. I mean, the trauma that they endure, literally mental health
That's
trauma.
in a lot of sports.
But
there's a lot of sports. Rugby, I have kids that play rugby. They were getting concussions,
Yeah,
every month,
rugby,
like
rugby
monthly.
and football, I would definitely say
A
play.
lot of other
they go
sports.
high on that
Hockey,
list. Of course.
hockey's a tough sport.
Of course. I mean, that's sports
That's probably why
in
you
general.
That's probably why you like hockey, right?
I
you
do
like
love hockey for that reason. We all love hockey for the fights. All hockey fans could tell you we love the fights. The fights are our favorite part. This is why I love boxing. I'm telling all the hockey fans, if you like the fights in hockey, you got to go watch boxing.
That's totally funny. When I'm at the hockey games, because I do follow hockey, as well, and I enjoy the sport. But yeah, when they fight, I get all excited. And,
Yeah.
That's the best part of
and
the
watching
sport
them,
that I like.
watching them slip around the ice while fighting each other is hilarious.
yeah.
But you know what? They have headgear.
True.
Boxers don't have headgear.
True.
Helmets.
Well, actually, that's a good point because there's been a lot of discussion with headgear, especially with the amateurs.
Yep.
Right now, a big debate is should amateur boxers, be or not be wearing headgear, and what kind of headgear should they be? You have regular headgear, you have open face headgear. There's so many different arguments.
Well, should they? What do you think?
That's a tough one because there's a lot of people that it's such strong opinions on this.
Why don't
right?
they? I don't know enough about that. Why don't they?
Okay, well, the same reason why a horse, walking down the street has blinders on. There's that peripheral vision, right? So if you're a fighter, yes, you're gonna get some scratches on the face, some bruises, without the headgear. But what you have to ask, and this has been roaming around, and debatable for years, is the headgear really preventing any type of serious damage?
Yeah, because they wear it in sparring.
They wear it in sparring, but again, for those reasons. But what you have to ask yourself also is if they weren't wearing headgear in sparring, would they be open to as many punches, or would they be able to slip more punches, being they have better vision? That's why so many fighters like the open face, or a lot of fighters like to
you
light
have
spar
history
with.
boxing, so what would you say to that? Do you think it actually genuinely affects your peripheral vision?
Well, no, absolutely, 100%. It's like you have blinders. I mean, you're not seeing a lot of punches. Yeah, you're seeing the straights, but the overhand rights, you're missing a lot.
But if that
and
keeps you alive longer, healthier longer.
But if you can get away from a single, damaging punch, or you're able to slip more of those big punches because you can see, I don't know. I've always wore, as a kid, I wore open face. I want to see what's going on. Yeah, I always had a black eye, but
what if it were like hockey? Do you remember a few years ago there was a tragic death? I don't know if you saw the news. A few years ago there was a tragic death, I think, at a live game where one of the hockey players was accidentally cut with one of the skates around his neck on a live show.
Ouch,
and
no.
ended up passing away. It was very traumatic for everybody that was there watching, as well as everybody who was back home watching. And it caused a huge debate on whether or not hockey players should be wearing mandatory neck protection. There's the neck, I forgot what they're called. And there was a lot of hockey players that it's not mandatory, but there was a lot of hockey players after that game that started wearing them because it was like a huge shocker for them of witnessing that and saying, holy smokes, that could easily be me. So my question to you is, should that be an option that's given to boxers? Like, is that something that's like not mandatory, but if you want to, you could?
I don't know. That's a hard one. But I could tell you this: until there's some really proven data, right? Kids should be wearing headgear. I think they should be wearing open face headgear, but kids should be wearing headgear.
Like under 18, or what do you mean by
they're
kids?
still very inexperienced at that young age, especially when they're starting.
Yeah, and their brains are so underdeveloped still. We got to protect them.
Yeah, brains are underdeveloped. There's a number of different things, but yeah, that's been on the a topic for years and years and years. But yeah, you know what? Why don't you comment on some of our comment on social media. Tell us what your thoughts are. We'd love to get your feedback.
On that same topic, what's interesting, I've noticed, and I'm not sure if anybody has really questioned it. I'm noticing, I know we have the NFLPA, the NFL Player Association. We have the MLBPA, the Players Association. All these other sports
unions
have unions, player associations. For those who don't know what a player association is, it's essentially a union that helps connect players with services, with health coverage, with retirement, with someone that's an expert on finances, mental health professionals, legal professionals, family therapy, family services, finances. It helps connect them with all the things that they were usually not taught. And usually no one talks about because everything is hush hush.
Of course.
So, NFL players have a particular set of, for example, therapists that they can go to that is not going to be stigmatized, that they are used to working with football players. It's extremely confidential. So they feel more comfortable to reach out to these individuals rather than having to go seek therapy on their own. Same with health insurance. What's wild to me is that a lot of these boxers don't have health insurance.
A good portion of them don't.
They don't have health insurance.
Your largest, touched on that a little bit, your larger management companies have those resources.
Yes.
Right? They have a lot of those resources.
Yes.
But they represent such a small portion of fighters. And you have thousands and thousands and tens of thousands of fighters that don't really have those resources, especially the new ones coming up. Right, they're barely lucky if they're making money on purses, let alone be able to afford health insurance. And
so why don't we have one? Why don't boxers have
because
association?
Boxing just isn't as organized, as some of the other sports, and it never has been. There's 4 different sanctioning bodies. It's not as organized, and it's unfortunate because I think, and a lot of people, I know a lot of people would agree with effort. Right.
Yes, with effort.
With effort, we could put an association together.
The fact that nobody is demanding this is wild to me. For me, I'm not a boxer, but I mean, that would be something that I would look forward to in my promoter. If you offer me this association, I'm more likely to sign with you than with somebody else.
Yeah, no doubt. But someone has to pay for it. I mean, just like unions. I mean, unions aren't free, right? And at the end of the day, the customer, whoever that customer is, ends up paying a portion, of it. But yes, if you, I have to be careful saying this. I don't want to, piss off any promoters or anybody on the business side that it could hurt them financially. But if you pulled from ticket sales, let's just say, right?
Yeah.
Portion of ticket sales.
Yes.
If the commissioners,
they can afford it.
Yeah, if the commissioners in each state were to pull a portion from the ticket sales.
Yeah.
Right.
Revenue.
If the promoter were to donate a portion of it, if the management companies would have to maybe pay a small fee, and there were multiple different sources where you can put revenue in or money into to utilize that revenue towards these types of programs, that would be huge. And you know what? You don't have to have all that to start, but you have to start. Right.
I would agree.
So you don't need health coverage, and legal and all these things that typically you would see, in a governing party like a union.
Yeah.
But something to start, like health, right? Like a health program for them. Yeah.
How is it that you get punched in the face for a living and you don't have health insurance?
Yeah, that's amazing.
Or don't have access to it. This isn't something that's being offered to you. You go to any job, and most of these employers offer you health insurance. They offer you a 401k. They offer you, therapy services. They offer you legal services.
Unless you're an independent contractor.
And even if you are an independent contractor.
And that's what these guys are. They're independent contractors.
You have someone that's telling you, hey, you should, let's meet with this person. At least have an independent contractor. At the very least, have someone that comes into the gyms and talks to these, women and men about the importance of these things. Because when you're young and you have this money, I could see why it's so easy to spend it and not take care of your basic needs.
Yes.
And then they end up broke.
Yes.
We don't have financial advisors.
Yeah, they don't understand.
Or they end up doing drugs, alcohol. Their family units are separated. Their marriages are falling apart. Their, domestic violence, anger issues. There's all these things happening. No one's taking care of these fighters. Nobody. And I think it's a shame. I think these fighters should be demanding a lot more equal treatment than all these other players are doing. They're putting their lives on the line for our entertainment.
Yeah, no, that's definitely true. But again, it's a business, and it has to financially work for the promoters. It has to financially work.
They can afford it. I call it BS. They can afford it.
You know what? Okay, not to throw a rebuttal out there, but I will. How many promoters do you really think are making money? In fact, there's a good portion of promoters that I'm not talking like the larger promoters, but your mid-sized promoters. They promote fights for one reason only, and that's to keep their fighters busy, right? It's not because they're trying to actually make money on this card in this big event. Most promoters, and trust me, I was a promoter for years and years, and I went through a single weekend losing a couple $100,000 because I got the date wrong, or because it's a very, very risky business, right?
Well, maybe it should be applied the same way that any business is applied. Once you have a certain amount of fighters under you, then you are mandated
There's a way to do
offer
it.
these
There's a way to
services.
do it. What happens is smart people out there just that need to think about it.
But
And
from
until,
a business perspective, it still makes sense to offer these things.
Sure,
You
of
may
course.
lose out on a few thousands of dollars in exchange for having more fighters wanting to sign with you because you offer these things. I'm more likely to go apply at a job that's offering me all these services, all these resources, whereas going to this job that pays $3 more an hour that doesn't offer me any of these things.
Yes.
They value me more. They value my health. They value my family. They prioritize me.
Yes. But again, the NFL, Major League Baseball, all of these other sports, they're organized. And how organized really is boxing?
And what does that say about us, that we like a sport that's so unorganized? What does that say about us, Andrew? I didn't realize any of these things. I don't know if you have, but it just dawned on me.
No, I
earlier
have.
this week.
I have. In fact, in years prior, I talked about, what would it take to start an association, and
Ew.
one for the purpose of trying to get the trainers and the coaches and everybody a little bit more on board, and on the same page, because you'd be shocked how many trainers, when they come in on fight night, no one's on the same page.
Yeah.
Right. First of all, to get people on the same page. The second is to just to get know other people in the sport and get to be more educated in the sports for those trainers that aren't as educated. So to be able to offer classes, and I know the WBA, WBO, and a lot of those different sanctioning bodies offers them, but just one body I'm talking about.
It only takes one. It only takes one to be the leader, to show by example, to be the one, the research group, so to speak, to be guinea pigs of saying how well does this work and what are the benefits to it, the long-term benefits. We may lose out on a few $1,000s, but in exchange for what? It could be
a few $1,000s.
It could be a win-win.
Health is expensive.
Yeah, in this country for sure.
In unions, your average cost for on the West Coast, I'm not speaking for the rest of the country, but your average health cost for an individual and their family, even with the union, could be $1,500, $1,600.
It's expensive. I know. I pay for health insurance. It's
so
expensive, but my peace of mind has no value.
Oh,
and
of
I'm
course.
not in a ring fighting for my life. Imagine if I were. That is some serious stuff. I am very interested to see what our viewers have to say about this. I'm obviously very interested in your opinion, but I'm more interested in their opinion.
Yeah, of course.
Because they're the ones that are keeping boxing alive, right? Their opinion matters. I'm very, very interested to even hear maybe even other fighters' opinions if this is something that's talked about amongst them. I don't know.
Yes. And you know what? Until then, I'll tell you, you're those veteran fighters, right, who have made smart investments, right? Because we're all in the gym together, amateurs, up-and-comers, prospects, pros, world champions. We're all in the gym together. Until then, you guys got to step up. I'll tell you guys that have made smart investments, who have been able to get good advice, help the younger guys out because they really need it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great advice. Good
Yeah.
job, Andrew. Well, I really like today's topic. I think there is a lot to talk about. I think it's going to generate a few conversations here and there. I'm very, very excited to hear what our viewers are going to say.
Great. Thank you for watching. Be sure to go on to boxingvip.com and to our social media platforms on TikTok, Instagram. Help me out. There's so many of them.
He doesn't know any
Facebook,
of these things. Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, all those things.
Yeah, watch our
YouTube.
shorts. Watch us. Follow us on YouTube at Boxing VIP Network. And be sure to join us on our next show, which will be airing in the coming week. And be sure to look out for some of our recent shows that we haven't aired, that haven't aired yet. Who did we have? We had Kaipo Gallegos the other day.
That one was fun.
Yeah, that was a great show. Rich Badientis
That one was
is
fun
on
too.
now, so you want to check those out. And thank you again for watching.
Take care.
Whoa, whoa.